Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. What is going on? I was in my old Blue Eyes mood. Frank, the ledge. How's it going, audience? So today I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, why do I was thinking about my friends. I'm like, man, I need new friends. Like, why do I even talk to my friends, man? Like, I love them to death, actually, all of them, but we're all, we're older. We're Gen X's. Not gonna revisit that. Not, say how Generation X is the best. It even rhymes. X is the best. X best. If it doesn't, it does. But anyway, so I have this one friend. Let's call him Stupido. Well, that'll be his alias, Stupido. This guy told me. So I'm as we all are. I'm looking for love, all that stuff. Looking for love in all the wrong places. But he's like, hey man, and he's a gun enthusiast and very responsible one. Love him to death. We talk about guns a lot. I'm a gun owner, responsible gun owner, and all that stuff. Had my days. But he's like, hey, and I also garden, so like, which that is a hobby of mine, and it's new to me. I learned a lot, got it done, planting stuff from seed. I'll talk about it later. I'll give my like what I've seen, my experiences, because it was an experiment, and it was an experiment that went pretty well. So I'll talk about that later. But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, man, I'm dating again, out in the jungle. And he's like, and I'm like, I talk about my gardening because it's just close to me. It's something that I'm doing right now, and I'm learning and loving. He's like, yo, that's whack. Don't talk about gardening. I'm like, why not talk about gardening? He's like, that's not. And he's a very machismo friend, so I get it. And it's like, we're over that. We are in the phase where you do what you like to do. Don't do something because it makes you look whatever. And he doesn't do that. He's completely not like that. But he has his hobby. So it was hobby versus hobby, basically. So he's like, man, you need to talk about guns. I'm like, so you're telling me if I meet a lady, a nice lady, for dinner or whatever, that I should talk to her about like collecting guns? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so how do I do that without sounding like a psychopath? He's like, oh, well, you're just saying that because guns have a negative like, of course they do, because you can't. It's not, guns only hurt and kill, but it's not even about that. You and I know a lot about it. I know, like, it's a hobby, and it's not a bad hobby. It's like, you collect, just like cars, just like shoes. You can collect them. It's not a big deal. But the fact of the matter is, when he said what I talked about was lame, like gardening is lame. It's like, so you're telling me don't talk to a woman at dinner about what I'm growing and can potentially help both of us. I should talk about the newest AR. Like, yeah. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I can respect that because you like it, and you know what? I will put an ad out in the paper if people still do that. for new friends. Like, yeah, you know, Gen Xer looking for new friends that that make sense. But I mean, like, hey, I love my friends. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But yeah, he really told me that. He's like, you talk about guns. Then he tried to pull out a statistic. And I love that I'm talking about him right now. And he's like, he's gonna be so mad, and we're gonna fight, and we'll make up, and it's like whatever. We fight every 3 weeks. It's like clockwork, and we fight about pizza toppings too. I don't know how many of y'all. Hey, audience, how many of you all have friends that you fight about pizza toppings? I know there's like America is split. Half of Americans like olives, the other half does not. So you can't tell me you don't have a friend or know a person that does not like olives. I love olives. So there's that. But anyway, so like he legitimately he pulled out a stat. He's like, "Hey, what is the?" And he and I know his I know how he operates. So he's gonna ask me a question where the answer benefits him. So he's like, "What's the highest population that are new gun owners that are buying guns?" And I'm like, "Well, you're asking me that. Well, you're saying that because it's going to be women, right? But that does not mean that has nothing to do with talking to a stranger that you asked to have dinner about guns. I'm not going to be like, hey, I think, well, I know since women, there's more women buying guns now. I'm going to talk to you about guns. You don't talk about guns on a first date. If I met you at a gun convention or something like that, all bets are off. Got it. Because we have common interests. It's about common interests. Gardening, everyone, even if you wanted to or not, you have experienced some form of gardening. Like, that's the thing. If you killed a plant, kept alive, that's gardening. I'm not talking about, I need to talk to you about how to properly plant pumpkins or squash or whatever, or you know what I mean, like saffron. Hey, give me some advice about growing saffron. I'm not talking about like deep diving. It's like, hey, gardening. Some people, this is what happens. You say, hey, I garden, and people say, oh, you know what? I have a black thumb. Oh, you know what? I have a green thumb. I keep this a lot. You can relate to it. I'm not gonna be like, hey, so you see that the new shotgun, the velocity or the blah 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 is like blah. What do you think about that? It's like, why would I think, like, I'm a nurse. like, which doesn't mean you're not a gun owner, but you know what I'm saying. You don't lead with the bleed, if you will. And so back to my point. Need new friends, man. I do. So I'm out there. Like, hey, if you are a regular person that gives regular advice and is halfway decent at it, hit me up. Friendship applications are being accepted right now. Like, background check, not even necessary. Well, I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to let you in my house if you have too many misdemeanors. I'll be like, hey, you just stand outside. Stand outside, put your hands in your pockets, do not move your hands, and we'll discuss stuff while you are across the streets. Anyway, audience, that's all I got.